Changing minds one thought at a time.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Changing Minds Online Empowering Faith series. How are you doing tonight, Akina?
I am great, Jessica. I want to congratulate you on your run today, and I do believe that that's going to be part of our talk today. So without further ado.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that. I did do my 15th marathon today, and it was in Central Park. It was a beautiful, beautiful day, so I'm really blessed. And this time last year, it was really cold for this race. I hadn't run it, but I had some friends that did, and they said, it was really, really cold last year, and it was a beautiful day. It was 55 degrees. It went up to 61 at one point, but it was 55 for most of the race, and it was absolutely ideal running temperature. So it was really a phenomenal race, and I'm really feeling blessed that I was able to do it. But there was a little bit of a story that happened before the race that I wanted to share with everyone. It was every once in a while something happens in our life where we might have a plan for what we want to talk about, and just God intervenes in our life, and He teaches us a lesson. And I wanted to share a little bit about the lesson that I learned this week. Now, I have said on our podcast before, on my portions of the calls before, that I have some medical issues, some neurological issues, and that was one of my big inspirations for starting to run. So you might have heard me say before that, I have tumors growing on the nerves of my feet, and that my declaration of I'm going to run 30 marathons by 30 was really in response to my doctor telling me, well, you can't run anymore. And I had just started running. It was a brand new hobby. And I had done 2 marathons at that point, but I hadn't really kind of seen myself going the route of continuing to pursue marathon running in any way. And I had said that as a reaction, and it was my way of declaring something different. And the idea, right, that we know as Christians that God has created us and that He has given us the power to claim victory over any situation, right? Greater is He in us than He is in the world. And that was my way of looking at this situation and saying, well, this is maybe what the doctor says, and this is what seems like would be the logical outcome, and this is what the health report may say, but that's not who I am. I know who I am. I'm a child of God. I was born to do great things. I have God on my side. When God can be for us, who can be against us, right? It says that in His Word. And I had just said, okay, you know what, that may be true for you. That may be what you believe, but I believe in a God that can restore my full health. And I said, I'm going to run 30 marathons by 30. And you've seen me maybe post, if you're following my public page, you've seen me maybe post the medals and, post the inspirational sayings. And there's a lot that goes into it. It's really not just about the inspiration. It's not just about the medal. Oftentimes, as I say, the hardest part of getting to finish a marathon, it's not getting from that start line to the finish line. It's getting to the start line in the first place. And I had a week where that was really true for me. And I've learned a lot in this last week, and it was a phenomenal opportunity to really grow closer to God and really just renew my sense of power and faith and belief in my ability to speak life into my life, and really that God-given power to claim victory over any situation. So if it's okay, I want to share a little bit about what happened to me this week and really how God just came through in a really, really big way to help me to finish this race and have victory in this race. And I know that what you're going to take from this is that you too can have victory over any situation. It doesn't matter what it is in your life. You can have victory over any situation. There's nothing that, God can't give you victory over. His last words on the cross was to tell us that it is finished. No matter what battle you're fighting, it might be a financial battle, it might be a health battle, it might be a relationship falling apart. Whatever it is, know that no matter what anyone says, that God is a God that there's nothing too big for Him. I mean, He's a God that is infinite. He's a God who is amazingly powerful. He created the world. And anything outside of God it's smaller than Him. And because we have God within us, that means that any problem in the world, any problem in our life, we are bigger than that problem. And again, I want to keep repeating this verse, greater is He in us than He is in the world. right? We can claim victory over anything in our life, and we can speak life into anything. And that's really what happened to me this weekend. So last weekend, I had the privilege of having a trip, and I went up to upstate New York, and it was very close to the Canadian border. It was very, very cold where we were, and I spent a lot of the time outside that weekend. And it was close to negative 20 degrees with the wind chill, and it was really a very, very frigid day. Now, it got really, really cold last weekend, and then this weekend we had a full 360 in New Jersey where I am, and instead of being really, really cold for this time of year, it decided to get really, really warm for this time of year. So it was around 61 degrees as of yesterday, and today in Central Park, that's what it was as well. It was around 61 degrees. So you can imagine that right? If we look at the math there, that's an 80-degree temperature change in just a matter of 1 week. Well, for someone like me with the specific set of medical issues I have, although my body can adjust to one temperature, whether it's hot or cold, oftentimes the swinging of the temperatures, right, that back and forth, especially an extreme, temperature of 80-degree difference is huge. That is enough for my body to go into a flare-up and have some more symptoms of the medical problems that I typically don't have. And I don't often share about this because, to be honest, I always thought it wouldn't be powerful. I said, okay, well, people will just see me as having this disability. And I said, you know what, no, because people deserve to know what goes into this. Because I know that people listening to this podcast, that many of you are silently struggling. Many of you have financial situations that aren't great that nobody knows about. And many of you may look the part, and you might have a spouse where you're posting pictures on Facebook and showing up to church every week, and you look happy, but really deep down you're not happy. Maybe your relationship isn't great, and you're suffering in silence, and no one really knows about the struggle. And you look at people like you might look at my posts on Facebook and say, look at Jess and look at all these amazing things she's doing, right? Look at all the runs, and they are amazing, and I'm grateful for them. And yes, it's good to celebrate the victory, but sometimes it's really knowing the story behind everything that you're seeing, and it will give you power because you know that if I can do what I'm doing despite the situation that I'm in, then you can do anything you want to do in spite of whatever situation you're in. And that's why I'm choosing to share this with you. So for me, it was a couple nights ago. I was in bed. I woke up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. I very rarely do that. I typically sleep through the night. And when I woke up, I had no feeling in my right arm. My right arm was completely numb. I couldn't move it at all. I couldn't feel it at all. I could swing my arm back and forth because I can move my hips, but I couldn't feel anything. I couldn't wiggle my fingers. When I picked up my right arm with my left arm, I could not feel my left arm touching it, and when I dropped it, it just dropped. It was completely dead weight. Now, this is something that's happened to me before, so I wasn't in a complete panic and alarm, and I know how to really work with my body to get the feeling back, and I started to use these affirmations, and I just said, and I started to really just pray. And I said, okay, God, I said, I receive complete and full healing right now. I said, in the name of Jesus, I command the feeling to come back into my arm. And I said it with conviction. And I said, no, I said, and I said that verse out loud and I repeated it. I said it out loud for whoever to hear. I said, greater is he than in me than whatever is going on right now. Greater is he in me than my arm being numb. I said, I speak life back into it. I said, right now, I claim my full and immediate healing. And I did get my feeling back in my arm. So I was feeling okay. And then, I was up, so I tried to go up to go to the bathroom. And when I got up to go to the bathroom, I had fallen. I fell off the bed. I didn't really have very good balance. So I picked myself up, and I was kind of limping and having a little bit of a struggle to get to the bathroom from my bedroom, and I wound up falling again in the hallway. This time I hit my head on the wall and cut my head. And eventually I got to the bathroom, got back to bed, and I just prayed. I thanked God for my full healing. I thanked God that when I woke up in the morning that the symptoms were going to be completely gone, which for the most part they were. I did some residual symptoms the next morning, but for the most part they were gone. I went back and I had a great sleep. I had an amazing sleep, and So everyone had said to me, are you going to be doing your marathon? Are you going to be doing your race? The few people that I did share with, and some of my friends advised me. They said, don't do this race, Jess. Sit this one out. And I said, no, because greater is he in me than he is in the world. I said, there's nothing they can't do. I said, look, the doctors may say one thing, my body may say something else. I said, but they don't know who I am. I'm a child of God. I said, anyone who thinks that this can stop me from running, they don't know who my God is. They don't know how big my God is. And I said, I'm going to run this marathon. And I firmly believe that when we act out in faith, that, and you can say to me, and he can come to me and say, you know what, it's kind of brass, it's kind of silly, why would you do this in jeopardizing your health? It doesn't jeopardize my health to run despite my situation. It makes it more difficult for me to run. But I believe that the reason that I can walk, the reason why that I can speak life back into myself, back into the situation, is because I do go out and act out on faith. I do say, okay, this is not just a Bible verse that I'm reading, but I'm going to live this every day. I'm going to believe this every day. And I'm not only going to say it, and saying it is important, right? Even God spoke the world into existence, so saying it is really important. But I'm not only going to say it, but I'm going to go out in faith and I'm going to do it. And I'm going to declare this marathon already done, already won. I'm going to declare that I'm going to wake up that morning and be strong. I'm going to declare that these symptoms are gone, and I'm going to cross the finish line. So that's really what it's about, and really having faith. It's really two parts. It's about saying it, and I said it out loud, and I'm going to share the second part of the story when I get into really how this played out. You're going to realize, and you're going to hear, I speak out loud to God. I do, and I believe in God, and I believe also that the enemy is around us, and we can, if we speak to him in the name of Jesus, he has to leave, right? He has to flee. He cannot touch us when we speak to him in the name of Jesus. So I was going to pick up my bib for my race, and again, despite what everyone said, I knew I was going to go pick up my bib. So I was driving from New Jersey to New York City. So I had to go over the George Washington Bridge. So if you're local to the area or you've been here, you may know where it is. But if not, it's just a really big bridge that connects New Jersey and New York City. So it's a very urban area. Not a lot of trees, definitely not a lot of wildlife out there. So I was driving to the George Washington Bridge. I can see it now. It's very, very close to me. And I was playing inspirational music, and one of the songs that I played, it is a song, it's called Find Your Wings. So I was playing this song, and I'm trying to I believe that's the name of the song. If not, I'll have to correct it later. Playing this song, and in one of the verses it says, "May faith give you the courage to dare to do great things." And I said, okay, Lord, I spoke out loud. I said, Lord, I have the faith and I have the courage. Where are my wings where are my wings? I said, I want my wings so I can run this marathon. And in that instantly, as I said, before I could even finish the word wings, I saw a bird and it crossed in front of my car. And it was amazing. And I'm thinking, wow, what are the chances? And then I started to really focus on this bird, and it was almost as if time had slowed down. It was maybe 10 feet in front of my car, if that, and it was at eye level with me, and I began to focus on it. I'm just thinking, wow, what a coincidence. I'm talking about wings, and I start to realize that the bird was a bald eagle. I mean, it was just absolutely beautiful. It had this brown, really beautiful feathers and a white head. I said, this is a bald eagle. And I was thinking, and I said, there is no chance of that, right? This was not an accident. This was not a chance. This was a God moment. This was a moment where God intervened and said, here are your wings. Like, this was God's way of letting me know that he was with me, that he ordained what I was doing, right, and that he was going to carry me through it. And as soon as I saw that eagle, I just said, okay, I know that I'm going to finish this race. I know that God is going to lift me up. And it's amazing. One of my friends, and I had asked her, I said, what Bible verses do you read when you're preparing for a run? And she said, I read Isaiah 40:31. And I said, okay. And I looked it up, and it says, yet those who wait for the Lord will gain new strength. They will mount up with wings like eagles. They will run and not get tired. They will not walk and not become weary. And, I'm just thinking about it and how beautiful, how fitting, how perfect, right? And she reads this verse because it talks about running. But again, right, this theme of the eagle and this idea that God takes care of us. And this is a parable I've heard spoken many times, but it's a parable about an eagle who grew up with chickens, and that this eagle always wanted to do really, really great things, but it only knew how to behave like a chicken because it had only seen chickens. And, so it clucked around and it ate seed off the ground and it flapped its wings, and all of its brothers and sisters that grew up with it and would tell it, you can't fly. And this eagle always wanted to fly. And he says, no, I feel like I'm made for more than this, more than this chicken coop. I feel like I'm made for something great. And he was mocked, and he was told, no, you're not, and no, you can't do this, and you're crazy, you can't fly, you don't think you can do this, right? How many of us hear that? How many of us are entrepreneurs in here? You're crazy, just go get a 9-to-5 job, you'll never be successful. How many people tell me every day, no, you'll never run because of the medical issues you have, you can't do this, so find a different hobby, take up crocheting, right? How many of us hear this? How many times, right, Akina, did you hear you're not going to get into that school, you're not going to be able to do this, right? How many people told us, Akina, you're not going to be able to start a podcast, you can't start a company online with someone you never even met, that's crazy, right? How many times did we hear this? But you know what that eagle did one day? It started to fly, and it flew up, and it flew so high that it could barely even see the chicken coop anymore. It became just a speck. It just became a dust, right? God put those chickens underneath the eagle. And in the same way, there's problems in our lives right now. There's naysayers in our lives, but we have victory over them. We are bigger than them. We weren't born to be chickens. We weren't born to live a mediocre life. We were born to live an amazing life, a great life, a life of abundance. God is a God of abundance. He didn't create us just to be average. He didn't create us just to exist. He created us to live in His purpose, to live in our purpose. He gives us this gift, this amazing gift of free will and choice, where we get to create anything that we want with our life. And He tells us, ask and you shall be given, seek and you shall find. Knock and a door shall be open to you. I want to give you because I am a God of abundance. When we are open to receiving the blessing that God in our lives, there's nothing we can't do. There's nothing we can't do. There's nothing that we can't have. Anything that's in our way, any obstacle in our way, He will put under our feet. He will give us the power to trample it. He will give us the power over it. It's our divine birthright as children of God. And I wanted to ask you, whatever problems in your life, what are you saying to that problem? Because whatever you're saying to that problem is going to determine whether or not that problem's here to stay or it's really just a season. See, there's only one limit that God has, and you may say, okay, but God doesn't have any limits. And you know what? It's true. God is a limitless God. But there's one thing that God is limited by, and that's our belief. If we don't believe in the power of God to give us victory over our lives, God can't change the situation for us, right? Oftentimes, if you heard Jesus when He was healing people, He would always say, by your faith you were healed. By your belief, you were healed. Because I've seen great faith, I've fully restored you. Right, when He was walking and He met the man, and the man said, heal my son. And He said, okay, but I'm not even worthy of having you in my house. Just heal him, speak it, and he'll be healed. And He said, because of your faith, your son will live. Right, it's because of faith. It's because of our belief, because we're willing to receive God's blessing and power over our lives, that we can have victory over any situation. And I wanted to share that with you because I had this really powerful reminder that, and I wanted everyone to know you are eagles. You're meant to be great. You're meant to do something great. And I want to ask you to find your wings and speak life into any situation that's keeping you from flying, from reaching your wildest dreams. God is God of abundance, more than we could possibly imagine. When, and on our call on Tuesday night, I spoke a little bit about my running, and I said it started off with a 5K, and I had no idea I would wind up running marathons, never mind, being recognized as an elite athlete, running 15 marathons. I had no idea 2 short years ago. But God is a God of abundance, and anything that we want, He magnifies for us. So when we ask for it, when we receive it, I said, Lord, I want my wings, and instantly an eagle flew in front of my car that wasn't a chance. And I want you to know that you can claim your wings, and He's going to instantly deliver you from any situation in your life. What do you think about that, Akina?
Oh, my goodness, that is so powerful. I was sitting here thinking as you were speaking, Jessica, and you mentioned a great point about there's one thing that limits God, and that's our belief. There's an old song that I used to listen to when I was a little girl, and the verse said, Jesus says, here I stand, won't you please let me in? But you said I will tomorrow. And a lot of times, that's what we're doing. We're waiting on tomorrow. We're not putting that urgency on. He's standing there at the door waiting to make these changes in our lives, to give us our wings, to be there to support us, to love us, to make sure that we're all we could be. But we haven't opened the door yet because we're waiting on tomorrow. We're trying to do everything we want to do now so we can get it tomorrow. We shouldn't wait on tomorrow. He is a right now God, and we need to open that door right now for Him so that He can do everything that He needs to do for us. I just thought that was a very profound point, Jessica, and I'm so thankful that you shared that story with us tonight, because a lot of people forget, that we have to talk to Him. Yes, He's all-knowing, but we have to build that relationship too. And if you hadn't had that relationship to say, Father, give me my wings, that bald eagle may have not ever showed up for you. That mission, that message would have never happened but because you had such a strong relationship, He was already ready to give you the answer. He was just waiting on you to ask. Sometimes He's waiting on us so that He can move into action. So, I applaud you, Jessica, for just taking control and just saying, God, please give me my wings. Sometimes we go through changes and never think to ask for Him to help us. And that's the first thing I do when I go through a situation. Father, help me. Father, reveal the tools that I need so that I can be successful in this situation. Father, guide me so that I can do what I need to do so that we can come out in victory together, Father. I put it in His hands. And a lot of times we forget to put it in His hands when we're going through. It's easy when we're all happy-go-lucky, but the first thing should always be putting it in His hands when we're going through a trial and tribulation, because He's the same God that was there for us when we were in the good times, that we went to with no problem. He's that same God, so we should go to Him in times of need with that same energy and enthusiasm. He is so wonderful, but sometimes He needs us to take action so that He can do what He needs to do. Sometimes He needs us to say, Father, I stretch. Father, do your work. Do your will. Hand it over to Him and let Him do what He needs to do. Thank you so much, Jessica, for sharing that story with us tonight.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure, Akina. And, like I said, I just really want everyone to know that they were born to be great, that you were born for greatness, and that there's really just nothing that you can't do. There's no victory that you can't have. You deserve, as a child of God, to inherit all the good things in this world. And it is your right, it is your privilege, and it's God's honor to give it to us. And we honor Him when we receive and when we accept His blessings. We honor Him. The greatest thing we can ever do to honor God is to accept His blessings, to use our talents to bless others. And the closest we ever come to God is when we can use our talents to really help someone in need. So on that note, Akina, is there anything you want to add before we close down the call tonight?
I just want to say if something that Jessica said tonight resonated with you, please find this podcast on ChangeYourMindsOnline.com. Also find it on Stitcher, Tuned In, iTunes, and, of course, our YouTube channel. What we do for you.
Absolutely. So I always like to end my portion of the podcast the same way. Just let you know, we love you from the bottom of our hearts. We're so grateful for you to call in every week, and some of you are calling in now 3 times a week, and we are so grateful and honored that you allow us to be part of your journey. God bless you and make it a really, really powerful week. And that's it. We'll be with you again on Tuesday night for our Empowering Mindset call. Make it a great week. Until then, everyone.
Good night, everyone.